All right, so this week we are making a door. We made this out of wood today, and it is to go into an upcoming project. It's a non-working door, so stay tuned and see how fun and easy this is to make. All right, I pre-cut all the pieces I need to construct the door off camera, and all of the cutting directions will be on the blog post. Be sure and check the blog post for the links that I'm using. And I just used my easy cutter. I measure like, don't measure twice, measure like 4 times, cut once. I have made several trips. And then dry fit your door. So what we have here is, I've got some basswood. I've got one piece of balsa because I didn't have basswood in this size. And then I've got some skinny sticks and some wide craft sticks. It doesn't matter. We're going to paint this when we get this step done. So I have 2 pieces of 1/2 inch by, it's about a 1/16 of an inch thick, I think. I'll have that in the blog post. These are 6.5 inches long. This is how tall our door will be. Now this is a non-working door because of how we are using it. And this piece, our door panel, is 2.5 inches wide, which is the finished width of our door, by 3.25 inches tall. All of these pieces are going to go on the first step here. So I'm using my magnetic gluing jig. I've talked about this in a tools video. If you haven't seen that, I will try to put the link to that video and also the one for the easy cutter in my blog post. But if I forget, remind me and I will get it in there. So I'm going to glue this. I'm lining this up with the corner of my jig, and I'm going to put this right there. And I want that glue off there. I don't want any glue oozing out. And ignore the cat. He is very obnoxious. Now I'm going to rotate this. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. 1/2 inch wide by 6.5 inches long on top of that panel. We're starting to see the finished size. I'm going to try not to get my head in the camera, but I do have to be able to see this because I've got, basically one shot at it. All right, I'm going to turn this over. We want to make sure we are square. We have a piece of skinny stick. This is not the right one. This is the one I want. This 2.5 inches wide, long, and that's going to go right up here at the top. And it's going to, and if we can always sand our edges. If things aren't perfect, we can sand it. But when you're dry fitting, sand so that things fit as best you can. Now, now we've got these 2 pieces. They're about 3 inches long. Let's see, that's not quite to the top. I'm going to get this in. I want to get this whole layer in on the back so that everything, when it dries, will be in the right spot. This is forming the little area where our window is going to drop in. This layer is never going to show. The only thing that's going to show is the part that's down to the tray right now. And again, I apologize if my head is getting in here. Hopefully I'm not getting my head in the camera. All right. I do want this level on the edges, otherwise things will not fit. Let's get this up and look. Not quite. Now I have some pieces of the wide craft stick, and they are cut 1.5 inches long. Trying to get everything lined up. I really want to get this whole side put in all at once if I can. And I'm going to paint mine. I'm not going to stain it. If you were going to stain use a wood stain for yours, you would need to do this. You need to stain each piece before you glue. So a little, just a skosh too wide. Let's see where we are. If we make it line up, that's better. Now this, we need another piece. I almost forgot a piece. Let's get the bottom one in first because yes, that will fit. By overlapping these the way I am, they are not only forming the design of our door, but they are also making sure that we have our, I should have brought a shorter ruler. I really wish I had. It's not the right side. I'll get this glued and then I will get it. We're making a space so that everything fits together. Now, actually, that's a 1/2 inch, so I use another 1/2 inch piece. It's a spacer. There. Now this piece is to glue in right here. And you should, now this should be taller. Now I really want to get this, I really wanted to get this rolled over. Alright. Let's get some magnets against this so that this will stay nice and square. Alright, now this glue needs to dry, so I'm going to, and hopefully you saw all of that. When this glue is dry, I'll be back and we'll flip this over and get a look at how the other side looks. I'm going to put another magnet right there. This is the beauty of this particular tool, is I can use that to kind of hold those edges down. Alright, I'll be back when this glue dries and then we can move on. Alright, so our door has dried overnight, and our next step, I'm going to paint mine next because I don't want to wait until I've got the glass in here to paint it. And because this is a non-working door, I won't need to paint all of both sides. I only need to paint the parts that might show. If you are doing a working door, you will have to paint both sides. Kind of getting off some glue that ran out. I got a little spot there, but that's okay. I don't think that's going to show. Actually, I can do a little sanding here, get that squared up. A little better. Any rough edges you can sand now. Excuse me. So I am going to paint this inset area that the glass will go up against. And I want a brown door. I just decided last night that I want to make this brown. So I've got ceramic coat in spice brown today. And this is a new bottle of paint. Well, it's the first time I've opened it. I'm not sure how long it's been in my drawer. So I'm going to take a brush and I'm just going to paint this area, because I don't want to take a chance on this showing around the glass. I don't think it will, but just in case. Now we're going to paint. Let's go ahead and get the sides. And it's okay that the sides aren't level because, like I said, this is going to be glued in place. It's a non-working door. I'm going to glue it into its frame. So the sides on my door are not going to show. If you're making a working door, and maybe someday we'll do a working door tutorial. That could be a lot of fun. There's a couple of ways to hinge doors, and we could do a couple of different kinds of doors that way. Try to follow the grain on your wood, but get into the corners at the same time. And get a little more paint. I'm trying to be good about not wasting paint by putting too much out, but that means I also sometimes don't put out quite enough. So I'm going to finish painting this coat of paint, and when this is done, I will decide if I need another coat, and if I do, I'll go ahead and do that. And when the paint is all dry and done, I will come back and we'll put our clear finish on. Oh, we do have one more thing we want to do, because I also need to go around this window. I want to make sure that the equivalent to these areas for the back side is painted where it could show. So that means these 4 pieces. 2 pieces here and these 2. Oops, I'm going to do the straight edge. Make sure I have it painted far enough down that I'm going well below. Oops, a little more paint. Oh, and there's a spot I missed on that one. This will make more sense once I get everything put together. But these are the parts that might show. I'm not going to do the back side. Now, if you were going to make a working door, you would do both sides of all of these pieces. So now I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to let this paint dry. I'm going to probably put a second coat on. I'm not sure. I'll let you know when I get back. When paint's all dry, I'll be back. Alright, so I've got all this coated. This has 2 coats. These only need 1 coat because they're not really going to show that much. And I'm going to put a clear finish only on the outside of my door. I'm not going to put anything on the back. And since there still is probably some wet paint there, I'm going to put my Mod Podge into this little cup. And I've got some Mod Podge in satin finish. Now you can use whatever clear finish you want. I would recommend a satin. That's probably all I need. I don't like to dip into the jar if there's any chance that I could pick up wet paint. I don't want to ruin my entire jar of Mod Podge. And just, now I'm not going to go, like I said, I'm not going on the inside. I am going to go around that window opening though. But since this is a non-working door, we're not going to see the back side. The only reason I painted these is because they are going to come up against the back side of our glass in our window, and I don't want raw wood showing. If you were doing an working door that's going to open that you're going to see both sides of, you would obviously need to do the edges and you would need to do the back side also. Yeah, that's definitely still wet there in the corner, but I want to get this project done. I haven't had a video up in a couple of weeks, and talked more about that on the Facebook group. If you aren't on my Facebook group and were interested in what was going on, I did talk about it on there pretty openly. So you can check that out if you care to. And there, I am going to let this dry. I'm going to try and make sure I have, there. I'm trying to make sure that my finish is going with the wood grain. That will make things look much more finished when it's done. So this needs to dry, and then when this gets dry, we can go on to the next step. All right, so our finish is pretty much dry. We're going to work on the back side, and this is only wet up here in the recessed areas, so it'll be fine to turn it upside down. I've got it back in my gluing jig. We're going to insert the window, and I've got a piece of plexiglass here that has the plastic protective coat on it. So if you've got that, you'll want to take it off first. There we go, get that off. And this is just some plexiglass that was left over from a dollhouse cover. Now if you've got the kind of plastic that, you know, from like food packaging, you could use that. Whatever. And I'm not going to even glue it in. We're going to hold it in with our wood pieces. Now be sure you put the painted side down. And basically we are going to be gluing this so that it mirrors the other side. And I'm going to be very careful that I don't hopefully get glue over onto the plexiglass where it's going to show. Remember, paint side down and the side that you painted the edge on down. Now this is another case where if you are making a working door, you would want this painted on both sides. But I'm not, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now I didn't bother to paint the pieces that are not going to show down here. Now you don't have to put in this piece if you don't want to, but I am simply so that I can make sure that this is evenly spaced with, oops, that's not quite where I want it. There we go. Because we want these to line up with the ones on the other side. This one doesn't need to be centered, but it needs to be there to space. As far as that goes, I could have cut like a solid piece to go here. Again, put the side down. That is going to, and I need to get where I can see. Hopefully, let's see, is this going to be even? This is going to be a little taller. So I'm going to trim a little bit of this end off. This I think was just a little bit longer than the one on the other side. Oopsie. Right there. I want that down just a little bit from the one outside, on the outside of the door. Just so that it doesn't show. Go here, glue down here. Put the painted edges the right place. I didn't get that painted in quite the right place. I'm going to have to I didn't paint that side. For whatever reason, I forgot. There. Now, that glue needs to dry. And I'm not even going to put any of the magnets in. I'm just going to let that dry. When that glue's dry, we'll come back, we'll build the frame around the outside of the door, and move on to the rest of this. Alright, so our door is all dry and it's ready to go. So now, because we're going to make a non-working door, I am going to glue the door, for the interior part of the frame, right around the door. Without this, it won't look quite finished. So, I have this piece of strip wood. This is pretty much the same size as a skinny stick, but it's long enough that I can use it for this. So I need a pencil. What I want to do is I want to cut two pieces that are the same height as my door. Now, if you are making a working door, you would probably make this just a tiniest bit bigger, and you would make it so it wasn't glued to your door. You would hinge your door into this part. Now we are going to select this. And there will be another door frame that goes on the outside of this piece that will cover most of the edges here. Now I've got just a regular craft stick. And I'm going to hold this like this like this, make sure they're down. This will just make it more finished look to our installation. And then I'm marking. I'm hoping you're seeing what I'm doing. I've got to have it so I can see. So I'm just drawing a line where those meet. And I'm going to cut that. Now this piece is the exact size that I need it. And I need another piece of this also. This is going to be our threshold, so I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. So now I am going to paint these. This one I'm going to coat with black and then with a silver because it's going to represent a metal threshold. These pieces I'm going to paint this same brown color and then coat them with Mod Podge. And when I get that all done, I will be back. Oh, this I'll coat with Mod Podge also. When I get these all painted and they're dry, I'll come back and we'll glue them to the door. All right, now all our pieces are dry, and we are going to glue our trim, our kind of a door frame around our door. Now on a working door, you wouldn't be gluing this to your door, you would be hinging your door into this. Because this is a non-working door, we don't have to deal with hinges. So I'm going to take the nicest side and make sure the front is finished. I did miss a spot there, but the top should be fine. The edges of this will be somewhat covered in the end. Kind of try and keep the glue off the front. Now, whoops, trying to do this so you guys can see it. I'm going to glue this to the side of the door, but I am I'm setting it forward on my door so that I have approximately probably a 1/16 of an inch or so of reveal of that frame, and I will get a photo of this so you guys can see it in the photo on the blog post. Hopefully it'll be easier to see there. Line it up top and bottom and make sure that's straight. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up, but I do have let's see. Yeah, there'll be a photo. I think you can kind of see it. And once the glue is dry, it will probably actually be easier to see. Now, glue this side on the same way. Come on, glue. Come on. I've really got to refill this, but that would mean remembering that when I'm in town, I need to pick up the bottle of glue to refill from. Okay. And it can be messy because we can clean this up. We can even put more finish on there if we need to. Now, the trickiest part is making sure that this is straight and that you have the same amount of reveal on both sides. There. Now, I'm actually going to let those two dry before I put this one in. So I get that glue wiped off. I don't want a bunch of glue there. And we can touch up our Mod Podge finish if we need to. There. Get that on. I'm going to let that dry. When that's dry, I'll be back. We'll put on the top and the top trim, and then we'll be ready to move to the next step. Alright, now I think this is probably dry. I used my jig to hold this side in place. And I've got a little bit of an issue where my side piece was just a little too tall. So I'm going to support this and I'm going to sand. Okay, it's not too bad now. So now we need to do the same thing with the top. And it's not going to fit perfectly flat, but that's okay because in real life a real door frame would not look perfectly flat from the outside. So, once again, a little more glue. Come on, glue. feels like it's up. It doesn't feel flat against the bottom here for some reason. All right, now I'm lining that up so that it's got the same reveal as our side pieces. We're going to put that back on, and I am going to let this glue dry. All right, our glue is pretty well set up. It's not completely dry, but it's dry enough we can go on. We're going to add our threshold to this. And I am going to, I kind of played around with where I want it. I want it to go past the door and a little bit past that frame. Not by much, just by a little bit. And I think by lining it up with the back of the door, it's going to be perfect. So, get my glue, lid off my glue. I've got a wet wipe here. And we're going to glue this on. Lay this down, and I'm going to push that up against. And once again, oops, use our magnets to make sure that that stays right where we want it. There. So now that glue needs to dry. I need to make sure that that is even. There we go. Yeah, it was sticking up a little too far. All right. I'm going to let this glue dry, and when that's dry, I'll be back and we'll clean up the little bit of mess we have here on the front of the door, and then we'll be done for this week. All right, so the glue is set up on that. It looks pretty good. Now I do have some spots here where I got a little bit of glue on the wood. Easy to fix. This is that nail buffing pad that I showed in my sanding video recently. And I'm just take off any bumpiness, wipe it off with really any kind of cloth so there's no dust. And then, oh, I got that. I've just got a little more Mod Podge. Just put a little bit of Mod Podge over that spot. Be careful you don't get it on the glass or the plastic in the window. But just kind of touch that up. And it's just a very light coat of Mod Podge on this. And when this dries, I'll be back and we'll take a look at our finished door. Alright, so for the most part our finish is dry. I've got a few damp spots around there with the Mod Podge, but nothing big. So this is our finished door as far as we're taking it now. Any other finishing will happen when we install it in an upcoming project. The back side of my door is unfinished because in the upcoming project we're never going to see the back. So I just left it that way. If you need to make this into a working door, you wouldn't have glued the frame on, you would have hinged the door into it, and you would have painted the back side too. But for what I'm going to use this for, painting the back side would have been a waste of my time and the materials it took to do it. So what else are we going to need? When we install the door, we will need some trim wood. And I have some trim wood that I'm going to put off to the side for my upcoming project. I just pulled these out of my bin of lumber, of miniature lumber that I've got. This is a piece of about 1/8 inch thick by 3/8 of an inch wide. It will be my pieces that run vertically along the sides of the door, just like that, when I get this installed, and it will glue to this and also to the side of, to the wall of my project. This piece is a piece of like a cornice molding, I think. It's probably what it was, or maybe a baseboard. I'm not sure. It actually came in a really, really old Dollhouse kit that I salvaged, and I just scrounged the pieces out of it to save. That piece is going to fit up here at the top of my door and provide the top trim. But I'm not going to cut those or anything until I'm ready to use them. So that's as far as we're going this week on our project. I hope you've enjoyed doing the project this week, seeing how a door goes together. It really is simple, especially if it's a non-working door. Super simple to make. And this looks really nice. It's going to look really nice in our upcoming project. So be sure and check the blog post. I'll have photos. Hopefully I can get a good photo to show you exactly how far this does. The reveal is here on the side, and get some pictures of the door. Be sure and check the Facebook page if you haven't already. It is the easiest place to get a hold of me. And if you'd like to help make this channel better, be sure and check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description box below. And then you can have your name at the end of the videos, just like these folks. Bye.